Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening if you're on the other side of the world. Welcome to Beyond the Outer Realm. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network 105.3 FM from the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM from New Orleans. Big shout out and thanks to Steve McGinnis, the artist behind the logos here at the show. Check him out on Facebook and Instagram. Specializes in the Halloween and horror genre and does amazing commission pieces of any type. So those of you who follow me on social media really need to check out my post on this new, I guess, screening he did, artwork for cryptids, Camp Cryptid. It's awesome. And I'm going to have to dig up a picture and put it up and promote it because I think it's a whole lot of fun. And I imagine you could probably get that put on just about anything. Anyway, every time I hear the intro to this show, I feel like I'm going literally on an adventure to the outer realm or beyond the outer realm. And I really love it. And today, of course, we're having an adventure as I welcome back Mary Joyce. We always have great conversations. She has been on a few times. I love chatting with her. And today's just is something that I've been wanting to talk about, just little people in general. But we're talking about the Cherokee little people. And there really is a difference. Like they really do tend to bounce around a little bit as far as temperaments and such, you know. And these guys seem to be, anything that I've read about them, they seem to be very, I mean, they're protective, don't get me wrong, like people in general. If you rub them the wrong way, it's probably not going to go well for you. But hey, you know, if you're a good human, chances are you're going to exist pretty well together. Oh, hello, Heidi. How are you? It is a great shirt, isn't it? I love that. So without further ado, let's bring on Mary Joyce and let's dig our heels into this a little bit. Cherokee little people, real accounts, and there will be some stories and discoveries, and there have been. So let's welcome Mary. Hello, Mary. How are
Hi,
you?
it's always good to be with you.
Thank you. Thank you. I love having you on. It's so much fun when you're here. So,
Well, I want your listeners to know there's lots of little stories I can share with them. That first book that I did, Cherokee Little People Were Real, I would have changed the title if I'd done it years later because they are still around. And after the
yeah.
Cherokee people that live in this area of North Carolina found out I did this book, they were willing to talk to me about it. So I ended up getting lots of cute little stories that didn't make the book because the Cherokee were afraid that the white people would laugh at them.
Well,
And that's been one of the main reasons the Cherokee haven't talked about it to the general public because for so long they have been laughed at.
that really, it baffles me and it angers me a little bit because these, you know, our indigenous people, our native people are the ones that have kept the oral traditions alive with a lot of these things that we call high strangeness, but yet we're very much a part of their everyday life, their existence. Bigfoot, oh, there's a cryptid, but it wasn't considered that to many of these tribes going back, you know, the last couple of few hundred years that we've been aware of them anyway. And
The native people consider the Bigfoot and the little people as just another kind of people.
there you have it. There you have it. And I know Dr. Melba Ketchum, at least with Bigfoot and working on Dogman now, when they looked at everything from DNA, because that's what she does. And she's probably one of the sought after people who do this sort of thing. You know, high profile cases in California and such. She's your go-to gal to do it. And when she did this for Bigfoot, they could trace the mother. So there's human DNA in Bigfoot, and apparently Dogman. They cannot trace the father. They cannot trace a paternal
To
DNA.
put it into real simple terms, if you pull out a hair out of your head and you
Yes.
get it out by the root,
Mm.
the DNA for the paternal or for the father side is in that root.
Yeah. Well, she has a lab. This woman should know. I
Oh
hope.
no, she knows,
Yeah. Yeah.
but she also
Yeah.
knows that the paternal side only shows up in
In the
that
hair.
part.
So you would need that follicle.
You would need the follicle, you would need the nuclear DNA, and
Yeah.
that doesn't match anything. absolutely doesn't match anything. And
Da,
that's her.
da, da, da. Right? Da, 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 da. So be curious with little people as to whether it works the same.
I wasn't sure I was going to get into this immediately, but I am.
Okay.
I met a Cherokee little person,
Yes.
and a woman that I knew who's Cherokee, and she's normal size for a Cherokee. She's short. She
Hmm.
said, "I think my granddaughter is a little person." Well, that didn't sound quite right to me, but of course we talked for a while.
Yeah.
And this little girl, we'll call her Lily, has been studied by the chief of pediatrics at two North Carolina hospitals,
Wow.
Mission in Asheville and Bowman Gray in Winston-Salem. They could not figure her out. She was not a midget. She was not a dwarf. They were so befuddled that they sent it off to some place in England. I
Mhm.
wish the grandmother could have remembered exactly what that institution was, but she couldn't.
Yeah.
Uh, but they found concrete evidence that this little person didn't match anything that they knew. It was
Wow.
kind of the grandmother thought that the mother of the child ought to be very open with the doctors and tell them that there was a possibility that that was a Cherokee little person child.
Hmm.
Because the child got DNA from two tribes, both have the little people in them. Her father was Hawaiian, and they call him, I'll probably mispronounce it, but they call it the Minahune,
Hmm.
the little people in Hawaii. And then we have the little people among the Cherokee.
Hmm.
So we speculated that maybe the recessive genes got together and created this little Lily. And she had many of the traits that I had learned about with the little people. For example, when the Cherokee first found the little people here, they never saw them in the daylight. They came from underground. They would come out in the moonlight and get the produce they grew in the garden, and then they go back underground. Well, this little girl, Lily, in fact, when I first met her, she was wearing granny sunglasses, and I was working in a health food store,
Yeah.
and she had her little hands like this. She was on her tippy toes, and she's looking like this over the counter, and the light always bothered her, so she wore sunglasses all the time.
Hmm.
The family at first thought she was just shy because she would always cover her eyes,
Yeah.
and then they figured it out. And with sunglasses, she didn't do that. So she had a lot of characteristics of what
Hmm.
I, found in my
Yeah.
research about the little people.
How tall was she? Like how?
But well, put it this way: her grandmother said she wasn't as tall as a grocery cart, and some of the best stories were in the grocery store. And when Lily was a teenager, again, she was not as tall as a grocery cart. That gives you a pretty good idea of her
Yeah.
size.
Yeah.
And I can't quote her exactly unless I cheat and look at my writing. But she said to her grandmother one day, "Can you put me in the cart? I'm tired of shopping on the bottom shelves. I want to, see what's on the higher shelves."
Yeah.
And,
Mm.
she
Yeah.
was a teenager. So that shows you how tiny she was. And another,
Um,
oh, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, paramedic says, I wonder what her blood type was. Thanks for being here.
Well, somebody knows that, and if the mother hadn't been so secretive, a lot of that information could have come out, and that was the grandmother's biggest regret, because she
Yeah.
she okayed the article I did, but
Yeah.
the mother wouldn't agree with it. The little
She
girl,
wouldn't. Yeah.
um, when I met her, was 14 or 15 years old,
Hmm.
and she died when she was 18. The
Oh.
grandmother showed me her death certificate. It was all lung related. Um,
Hmm.
And throughout her life, she was never able to stay in school because she would always get sick.
Yeah.
This again puzzled the doctors because she had an immune system, but it didn't work against the childhood diseases that, you
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
regular kids have. And
Hmm.
so she had to be homeschooled. But she was
Yeah.
very outgoing and she preferred being with people. And
Yeah.
it's,
I think it's extraordinary. Um, uh,
can I tell you one more
oh,
grocery
you can
store
tell me as
story?
many stories as you like. It's your show.
Okay. When Lily was old enough to talk very fluently, but
Hmm.
still was the size of a 6-month old,
Hmm.
the grandmother took her to the grocery store and was holding her like this in one arm. And when the cashier was getting ready to give the money, the little girl, Lily said, "I'll take the change," or something close to that. And it floored the cashier because
Oh,
these words were coming out of somebody that looked like a 6 month old.
yeah, a little
So
person, like really little person. That's amazing. That's amazing. So, I mean, did she have friends? I mean, I would imagine she did, but I would imagine it would be difficult for her to be at a teenager level, and I mean, are you pretty much having to interact with people her own size, or does she actually have older friends who would
I know.
interact?
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, yeah, it's a
But
curiosity.
for her sake, she was not shy. She
Yeah.
opened up with me. She had
Hmm.
a good sense of humor, so
Yeah.
she probably was able to deal with her situation.
Hmm. Yes, yes. Now, when you wrote the book Cherokee, Little People Were Real, I love that you say right off the bat it was written to help preserve a unique bit of American history, and it does captivate the imagination. But you mentioned that you had testimonies from people who discovered ancient little tunnels, small skeletons, child-sized, skull, wisdom teeth. Um, and again, this is out, Western
Here,
Carolina.
I'll paint the picture for you. I live in the
Perfect.
mountains of Western North Carolina,
Yeah.
and apparently have a voice that doesn't want to work.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was a there's a university here. It's called Western Carolina University. And every time they would dig into what was supposed to be virgin soil
Mm-hmm.
to build more buildings on the campus,
Mm-hmm.
they would find these little tunnels. And they were about 2.5 feet across, square cut with a rounded top, no more than 3.5, 4 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
They ran into these little tunnels everywhere. They also, with the bulldozer, dug up a skeleton quite by chance.
Mm-hmm.
And it was what they thought was a child skeleton from one of the Indian mounds.
Mm-hmm.
But the child skeleton didn't have had all its wisdom teeth, and you have to be at least 18 to hatch those. So
Wow. Wow.
that's right here in Western North Carolina, and
Right.
the
So,
university's the university's sitting right on top of it.
wow. Wow. So, well, just don't send them off to the Smithsonian. You actually stay.
Oh no, they already have. They already have.
Oh, have they? Of course they
I
do,
talked to
right?
somebody who was an anthropology student who had graduated,
Mm-hmm.
and they had not only the little people bones and skeleton,
Giants.
but they had a couple of the giants with 6 toes. All of that was shipped off to the Smithsonian at some point, and that's
Well, then
regrettable.
it ended up in the ocean.
We're probably never going to see them again.
No, no, they dumped the giant bones in the ocean. That's very well known that they did that. I mean, as far as little people, I don't know as far as that goes. But with giants, they made no bone, pardon the pun, bones about that. So caught myself with that. Paramedic says, I have a cousin that used to run off and play with the little people until she was about 6 years old. She was small for her age and is around 5'2" now. And she used to tell us weird stories about them. Oh, well, feel free to throw them in chat.
Throw a weird
Happily,
story.
we'll happily share them up and connect you up with Mary. You guys could share the stories. Um,
There's
so are
one
you,
gal that I met when I think she was about 29, and she's Cherokee, and her family has a small um, trailer up in a remote part of the reservation. Actually, they don't call it a reservation. They own the land.
Mhm.
I don't know what to call it, but it's the homeland for the Cherokee. And
Yes.
way in a remote part, they have this set up so that they have a kitchen and a toilet while
Mhm.
they have their picnics and their gatherings. Well,
Yes.
all the kids were playing hide and seek, and she chose to go hide in the shower of the trailer. And she got behind. She went to pull the curtain back in the shower, and there was a little man grinning from ear to ear, scared
Oh,
her to death. But he was
oh,
just a little person who wanted to play with children.
oh, I think that's lovely. I think that's lovely. So we're talking, current times, like people are still having encounters with them. They're still very active little community. Again,
Yeah,
pardon the pun. Of
but
just
if they don't like the light and they're
yeah,
underground most of the time,
right.
they can avoid us pretty well. And
Yeah.
we have Bigfoot in this area. They avoid us very well, and
Yes.
they're humongous compared to the little people.
Hmm.
So we
Yes.
have lots of caves and lots of forest and
Hmm.
perfect
Yeah.
hiding places around here for both the Bigfoot and the little people.
Hmm. Oh, I would agree on that. So what do they traditionally like? What's um the traditional look? I mean, if you're in the forest.
Let's see if I can remember this. Is it Mowgli? It's
Yes,
one of the,
Mowgli. Yeah, yeah, Mowgli.
yeah, looks like Mowgli with
Oh,
the
okay.
straight hair.
Yeah.
And a couple of Cherokee who have seen them use that as a reference.
Yeah.
And again, so much happened after the Cherokee found out I was not going to laugh at him. And I got a call from a couple that lived like 2 mountain ridges away from me.
Hmm.
And they have one of these gravel roads going up to the top of a ridge. And they have a game cam set up by their little, I'll call it a driveway.
Hmm.
A bird set it off one August. And in the background, you can see a Cherokee little person. It was August. It was really hot. You can see the long straight hair. It's the backside of him.
Hmm.
But I couldn't tell if he was just like wearing a long loincloth or if he was running around nude, but he was
Yeah.
basically looking pretty nude. And
Right.
the couple hesitated telling me about it. If people would get past their fear of sharing information,
Mm.
we could learn a whole lot more. But they had to agonize over this, and they finally decided they'd share it with me. One of them thought it was just a spirit.
Hmm.
The other one thought it was real.
Hmm.
And they sent me the photo, and I turned up the contrast on the photo.
Hmm.
Anything that is alive will go magenta when you do that. If it's a
Hmm.
ghost, it will stay white. So I compared it to um, certified ghost pictures. And there's one where there's a ghost who's on its
Hmm.
hands and knees playing with a very alive child. When I
Mm.
turned up the contrast, the child went to magenta and the ghost stayed white. Well, when we did this with the little person that popped up on the game cam,
Hmm.
um, it went magenta. So it was clearly a
Yeah.
live,
A
not a
live
spirit.
person. Oh, I think it's wonderful. I love it. Modern time. I think people get leery about, sharing of information. There is that fear of being ridiculed or just being belittled and like, well, don't believe all this stuff. It's ridiculous. Now we're in the age of technology and AI, so they really come at you pretty hard. I remember doing like really large events, and a lot of elderly people would come to me privately afterwards when the event was over. They're like, I have a story to share. They wouldn't get up and talk about it. I said, okay. And they would tell me incredible things, and they would give me the history, even more history that I didn't know about the area I was in. And I'm like, she goes, I don't like to. Some people are like, I don't like to talk in front of other people. Other people are just like, oh, they would just talk, or I guess conditioned, not to talk about things like that. It was a sign of the times as well, right? But I'm glad they
Absolutely.
eventually came forward.
Yep.
Couple of comments. He goes, my cousin would say that their trails were right beside ours, and they would laugh when we were looking for her. They would be right beside us, and we couldn't see them. And the trails even went right up to the concrete walls around Grandma's house. They liked her canned food. I love it. This was the mid to late 70s. I haven't heard many stories about them since. Can I ask which area you're in? Just ballpark. You don't have to give exact, but narrow it down. So I think that's pretty awesome that even up to the 70s, even getting all of these sightings. So I guess this also changes from area to area, right? I mean, we look at in Cherokee tradition, they're considered to be a race of magical. See, some people call them spirit beings who dwell within the rock caves and mountain, crevices, deep forest. But like you say, you have these others who are like, and when you did your testing, it's like, no, they're not spiritual.
No, they're very, very, very real.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say they have negative experiences sometimes with the little people. The only negative
Ah,
experience that I have ever heard was when I went out to South Dakota,
yeah.
and I met a woman again in her late 20s. Her grandfather was a shaman, and she
Mm,
had a lot of intuitive ability, you could tell.
mm,
And she told me about her cousins going to fish off a creek out in South Dakota.
mm,
And they found a little cave off, it had to be small out there, but a small cave. And they went into it. They found like a small drum,
mm,
small bow and arrows, a small quiver, and they took them. They brought them back home. The
mm.
grandfather got really upset with the boys and said, "You take those back. You
Wow.
don't mess with the little people."
Yeah.
So for a while there, the little people were killing everybody's chickens.
Oh,
I honestly, that's the only bad story I've ever heard,
you
and
gotta eat.
I can't. No, 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 no. I can't blame
Oh,
them.
yeah, yeah.
They did it because they're little,
That's what I
and
mean. Yeah,
their space had been invaded. Their stuff had been taken. How do
yeah,
you stop big people from messing with you? Now they didn't continue destroying chickens,
yeah,
but they did it enough so the message came across,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
actually understand it.
yeah. You've got to do what you've got to do. I mean, it's self-preservation at some point as well, you know. Para says Northeast Oklahoma, Cherokee Nation. Um, it's funny because one of my co-hosts on Two Real Crypto Legends is Cherokee. He's Cherokee as well, and you either grow up with the stories, and if you do, you're taught how to be respectful. You're taught how to approach them. You're taught to have that coexistence. Like it's part of your upbringing. This is what I mean with the oral history. Like all
Right.
of this is kept intact, and because that's where it comes from. And then along come the rest of us. Oh, hey, this is a thing. Well, I'm sorry. Yes, this has been a thing,
Forever.
for forever. And now this is like a new thing for us. And we're just sort of, because I have indigenous descent as well. And it's just like, all the stories, it's just something that maybe is never meant to get out to everybody else. Right?
Maybe we're becoming more of us are becoming ready to be respectful and honor the traditions rather
Hmm.
than deny them or laugh at them or dismiss them.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think there's a few people who aren't native who are changing their attitudes, and so more information is coming forth because of that.
Yes. No, I agree. You just have to look to the past and you will see the future.
That's almost profound.
Thank you. Every now and then I'll come out with a zinger. But yeah, for sure.
Let me throw out
um,
another cute story for you.
please.
Now, this is again from a young, like somebody in her 20s again, who's Cherokee.
Mhm,
And she, I think, was a little bit dubious because she lives in the heart of Cherokee, which is pretty active,
mhm,
about the little people being real. Well, she went to visit her aunt and uncle who live in Snowbird. Now, Snowbird, North Carolina, has more full-blooded Cherokee than the reservation does.
mhm,
Um, and so the uncle said, "Okay, I'll show you." And so he took flour and dusted it all over, I'm guessing the front porch, but it was either a porch or a deck or something.
mhm,
And the next morning, you could see all these little footprints in the flour. This was a traditional Cherokee old couple who would put food out for the little people every night, which is still a tradition around here.
mhm.
And so they were confident that the little people were going to show up, and they did. And the little footprints in the flour proved it to a somewhat doubting Cherokee.
Mhm. Wow, that's amazing. Um, Paris says the stories they came with us during the removal. And if they hadn't, they would have died off because no one would have been around that believed in them. See, that's very interesting,
I've
also.
heard over and over again that some of
Yeah.
them did travel with the Trail of Tears,
Hmm.
but not all of the Cherokee went out there, and not all of the little people went out there. And you
Mm.
know, clearly there's evidence that they're still around here.
Yes. Well, it's like you say, I think if you can stay underground as well, you really can escape everything that's going above. Sometimes I wish I was underground. I
Hmm.
just escape all the crazy that's going on up top. Hello, Jess. Little people in Bigfoot would appear once the frequency nodes were changed in the area we worked in.
Hmm.
Ah, everything's frequency. I don't like
What
the
what kind
frequency that's out there.
what kind of work, I wonder?
Yeah.
What kind of frequency would have that impact?
Yeah. I'll leave that with Jess to answer. I know of a concrete culvert under a road that has their tracks. Wow. A
Where?
military. Yeah. Jess is military. Yeah. Where was the, yeah, where was the concrete culvert? Okay. Annette says, is this anything similar to stories of the little people in the UK?
Let me give you an interesting tie-in with that. There was reports from in the first book about two kinds of little people living here in the mountains.
Hmm.
One would be like is it Mowgli? I don't want to
Yeah,
say it
yeah,
wrong.
Mowgli. No, that's right. It's
One
Mowgli.
one
Yeah,
looked like Mowgli,
yeah.
or much like the Cherokee,
Hmm.
and the other ones had red whiskers, and the Cherokee didn't like them, and they would try to kill them.
Oh,
Now, what makes this is interesting from several points of view. One, it makes you think of the leprechauns um, in Ireland, and they with the red whiskers. Um, a second thing, there was a man when he was about 5 years old. There was a major flood here in the 1940s. I mean, severe flood, and everything was getting washed away. He found a little medallion, and it had like a leprechaun's face on each side of it. It was coming from deep underground, so it obviously, was quite old. In my book, Cherokee Little People Were Real, I have a picture of a profile of a leprechaun and a picture of this medallion. They look remarkably alike, remarkably. So the
yeah,
we may have had two kinds of Cherokee, I mean, of little people. I
yeah.
never have heard anything recently about ones with red whiskers, but there's indications they really were here.
Yes, that I remember a little bit off topic, but bringing people, with red hair coming over here really early days. I knew someone who had a large collection of oddities because he bought out. I mean, my people here have heard me tell the story before. Bought out an old, the Niagara Falls Museum of Oddities that had been around since 1800s. It had mummies. It had, I mean, everything. It came from all over the world. This thing has been a museum for eons, and they bought it out, I think, in the 80s or the 90s, and it became something else. In that collection were real shrunken heads, not a lot of the stuff that you can see today. These were very valuable, they were very rare, and there were six of them. And they would travel to different museums because, they were real and people got a chance to really see them. One of them, when I saw this thing, it just made my skin crawl, not for the reason that you would think, but for the reason that, oh my God, it hit home. It was a little, very pale Caucasian man with red hair and a little red mustache, and it was about
Hmm.
this big.
Hmm.
And the story that came with it was that he was someone who had come over to try to convert the tribal people of the Amazon to Christianity, and that's what happens
To
to
him.
him. And of course, the belief is with shrunken heads is to the tribal people because this person I knew, went and spent about 5 years with different tribal people within the Amazon to gain a build big understanding of how they lived, and of course he was brought in by other tribal people, which is the only reason he was accepted. And the belief is when you shrink a head that it traps a soul in the head.
Oh,
So yeah. So, I mean, it is very fascinating, the fact that they would make their way to this side of the world. I mean, it can happen so many different ways. So, um, right here we have, on one time, Antiques Roadshow, they had some really cool paintings of little people on horses. I think they were Cherokee based. So,
could very well be. In this country, the Cherokee little people are the best known.
oh, So we don't have. I mean, they've got to be obviously in other parts as well. I think you get like Daryl, my co-host is at Tennessee.
Oh yeah, that's a
Cherokee
hot spot
descent.
for this kind of stuff.
Yeah. She said, Pyro says, rather, we believe if we see them, we cannot tell anyone about it for 7 years, or they will cause you misfortune. That could also be why you're getting some silence, Mary.
It's possible if people believe those kind of things.
Yeah.
I also think parents used it as a way of keeping their kids in line.
Well, like anything,
don't
leverage.
go, don't go too far. The little people will get you.
Yeah, that's like I can see that. um, so, what are the typical personality traits for the Cherokee little peoples?
I don't know, having only met one myself,
Hmm.
and she was incredibly outgoing
Yeah.
and had a sense of humor and could,
Hmm.
she wasn't shy,
Hmm.
and you would think she might be shy, and she wasn't.
Yeah.
So that might explain why, if they get used to having their food put out for them by
Hmm.
some nice Cherokee people,
Hmm.
and suddenly they're not getting it, they might be spunky enough to let you know in undeniable ways that you've not done your duty.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. She goes, yeah, at work. He goes, we minded well. He's like, I
Oh,
guess
that was
so.
that was
Yeah.
somebody that said that really worked.
Yeah. Exactly. um, I mean, so how I mean, how do the Cherokee little people vary? I mean, we talked earlier about Pukwudgies, for example, or they had other little people who were very, very aggressive, and yet you get the little people of the Cherokee little people, which seem to be not that they again don't have their bad days, but they're very protective, and they were able to coexist well with their human counterparts.
One of the men that I interviewed for the book, and by the way, all of those people had died, and I'm so glad that I interviewed them all. I spent a year, usually on Saturdays, around kitchen tables, getting the stories from people who had worked on construction, early construction at Western Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
and he told me the story of a whole family of little people that
Mm-hmm.
he knew, and they didn't stay hidden. And this little guy, they even had his name. It's in my book, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And he would drive a truck by standing up, to do
Oh,
the steering wheel.
right.
Um, so this whole family of little people interacted with the regular people in this area. Now you don't hear too many stories like that, but
Mm-hmm.
the man who told me the story was a World War II hero, and he was a mountain preacher for more than 40 years. I don't think he's going to make up a story like that. And
No.
so I tended to believe that he was telling me the truth.
Yeah. So the little people community felt very comfortable, obviously, within
To
that
some
area.
people, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I just.
And we've found the tunnels all over this area. It's all over the campus of Western Carolina University. Pull up an aerial view of the campus, and you can see how it's like a bowl shape with mountains
Mm-hmm.
all around it. You can see why it would be chosen as a place to have like a little city.
Mm-hmm.
But they've also found them when they were building the high school. They also found them under a theater in downtown Silva, which is about 5 miles away, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
One of the stories I've never been able to say much about was when a major, well known chain store was being built. The man in charge of construction said they found the little tunnels, and you could see the little scratch marks where they had used a tool to smooth out the side of the walls. And
Um, is any of this documented? Like, are there photos of any of this stuff?
he supposedly had them. I tried my best to get them. It's hard to come by visual
Mm-hmm.
proof of some of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry. And that's why it's
Oh.
so important that you know the people that are giving you the stories.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like the woman who was the grandmother of Lily,
Mm-hmm.
I'd known her not like in a deeply personal way, but had known her over a period of years.
Mm-hmm.
So I had every reason to believe that she was telling me the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so important because, there are people who just like to fabricate. Just try YouTube, and there's So many fabricated stories.
Yeah, there
I
are.
read
There
one and
are.
I fall for it and I go, that's really interesting. Then later on, I'll find another story. It has the same basic
Mm,
storyline. And so
mm.
people just elaborate on some of these ideas. You just want to shoot them. I'm just so
Yeah.
tired of people who get their kicks out of trying to fool the rest of us.
I think people also just start hypothesizing, you know,
Yes.
and they take a good story that is good on its own, and once you throw in all the hypothesis as to, well, it could be this or could be that, it changes the dynamics and the story ends up going in a whole other different direction. Then you try to make your way back to the original story, which is lost so far back, in the pool. You can never get back to there and say, look, I just want, the bones of this thing so I can, make a proper judgment.
And also, those of us who've been raised in a traditional American society,
Hmm.
um, we tend to we make assumptions based on our background. For
Yeah.
example, they said that this little skeleton or skull
Hmm.
um, came from the Indian mound. Well,
Oh.
I talked to these old timers. They said that was not an Indian mound
Hmm.
because it used to be farmland, and there was this mound, and the farmer would put big pieces of lumber into the hole to keep his cattle from falling in the hole.
Hmm.
And the old timers said that the little tunnels connected to this. This is where they were dumping the dirt from the tunnels they'd made.
Hmm.
Now
Yeah.
that's not, we most of us are stuck in the idea of a typical
Hmm.
Indian mound, and it wasn't.
Hmm. I think you have people have property all over. I mean, obviously all over the world, but here in the West, um, so much information has come my way over the years about land and where they are finding, and they're keeping it quiet because they don't want to see anything get vandalized, or they don't want, you don't want your land taken because you figure, oh my God, this is something substantial. It could be pre-Columbian, it could be really ancient, but they're finding mounds, some big, some small. They're finding ancient structures, ancient walls.
Mhm.
And like you may have 100 acres, or you might have 10 acres, and part of that acreage is forest, and you're just wandering on your own property. And this is people are starting to find these things.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a good time to be an archaeologist because there's so many things that have
Yeah.
been and are being discovered
Yeah.
under the water and up high in the
Yes.
mountains, everywhere, everywhere.
Yes. Well, you have a lot of people heading for the hills right now, so to speak, and they're looking to get right in them. So I imagine a lot of stuff is starting to surface. But I mean, when you're looking at some of these again, these discoveries, I mean, things get sent off. Do I would think that's pretty substantial. But I guess if you just think that you're just looking at bones that you think might just be, in this case, when you're looking at the child-sized skull, you're thinking, okay, it's just a child. So you're not going to document everything. You're going to leave it to the coroner, or you're going to leave it to, because you're supposed to stop digging when you find bones, and then what happens after that? It's just all the information gets lost because nobody thinks, well, maybe we should take photos of this. Even if you have your own camera phone, like nowadays, everyone's got a camera phone, like a camera in their phone. Like, who's going to come along and say you need to destroy those pictures?
Right.
I think we're kind of there. Visual proof is very tricky. Even those paintings I mentioned from the Antiques Roadshow, I can't find on Google Images anywhere. That's
I don't know. It's not odd. I've had not. I'm going to get on a totally different subject. I've done a book
yeah.
called Spy on the Sky.
You
I've
have. You
used
came
Google.
and talked about it.
I used Google Earth, and I
Yeah.
was searching Mars and the moon and the Earth and the bottom of the ocean, and found incredible things.
Yeah.
Antarctica. I would post these things when I would first find them on my website, which is skyshipsovercashers.com.
Yeah.
Sometimes within a day, they had been erased. One of the most notable things. So if you see something that looks really interesting, don't think you're going to be able to necessarily go back and find it. You hit the control key and the print page and
Hmm.
save it. If I hadn't done that, I couldn't prove that some of this stuff really had existed.
Mm-hmm.
One of the dramatic ones was I found two entrances into Antarctica. The biggest one was about 100 feet high and about, I'm giving round figures, and 300 feet across. You know, any plane we have could fly in there.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I posted that, it disappeared in stages. At first, it looked like somebody had taken black ink and just poured over it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's gone. I kept checking back on it. I briefly saw it labeled. It said Hollow Earth Entrance, Hollow Earth Entrance 2. Those labels just stayed there for a tiny bit, and eventually the whole thing now looks like it's just a field of snow and ice. But that happened to many, many things that I found. And so Google is in cahoots with whoever wants to control what we get to see.
Yeah.
And so it's a wonderful gift because you can find so many wonderful things, or at least you used to.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, they can just wipe it away right away. And that's one real good example.
Mm-hmm. Well, Antarctica is very, very protected for many reasons, you know.
If that weren't an active entrance, they wouldn't have been so anxious to wipe it away.
Yeah, they would have left
And
it.
one day, it was on a weekend, and I found something I was all excited about in Antarctica. And I talked to somebody who you probably have seen on Ancient Aliens or one of those kind of shows. And I said, I'll send it to you. I need to take a shower. As soon as I take a shower, I'll send it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I did not linger in the shower. But
Yeah.
when I got back, it already had been erased.
Wow. Funny
So-
that. Yeah.
So when
That was quick.
oh yeah, so they're tuning in when this other person and I connected, somebody instantly knew it, and so they immediately checked on it. I've had
Well, you have.
a lot of things like that happen. For example, I found two pyramids off of Paradise Island.
Mm.
I have pictures of that in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And then it looked like somebody took a Band-Aid that was made out of photographic material
Mm-hmm.
right on top of it. So
Mm-hmm.
I have pictures of before and after the disappearance of those two.
You know, I'm going to send a picture to myself so I can put it up here. Speaking of pyramids, that has to do with Tennessee. Jess says a friend of mine was an editor for the folks that ordered the removal of images from online search engines. It is real. Wow. Yeah. Isn't
That
it
person
though?
probably has a lot of stories to tell. One of the stories that stuck in my head was there was a woman, and I think she has actually been unalived, as they say these days.
Oh.
Her name was Donna Hare, and she worked in the photographic department, and
Mm-hmm.
she'd won awards. She did all sorts of notable things.
Mm-hmm.
And one day she was at an off-campus office, and one of the men from NASA came in, and he had a big gash on his head, and she asked him about it. He
Mhm.
had been assigned to destroying UFO photos. He was burning them. He was getting rid of them.
Mm,
They had a guard watching him.
to make
When
sure.
the guy who was doing the burning of the
Mhm.
pictures took too long looking at them, he got whacked over the head. So
Wow.
they can be quite aggressive in trying to keep
Their
many of
information
these
quiet.
pieces of information from the general public. I do not know why they want to reshape our history. I really do not know.
Mm. Well, I'm going to
They're
show
hiding the
pictures.
giants. They're hiding the undersea pyramids.
Mhm.
Why? Why do they think they need to do that? Got an answer?
Yeah, we keep getting resets, and this is the age old question. You know, why do we have all this hidden history? Well, I mean, it goes against the narrative. There's so much information out there. We could do a show just on that. I've done similar shows, and that's why I say, well, I'm going to show this next picture. This is where maybe we have to start looking. But before that, Pyro says, I saw a picture of what was said to be a little person with a priest in the American West from around the late 1800s. It was weird to see, and I cannot find it again.
And we remind everybody, hit the control key and the print screen and save anything that looks very unusual, because it may not be there when you go back. It happens too often.
Yeah, it really does. Here, I'm going to put up this picture, so bear with me for 1 second. The story said this was not a Kachina doll, but an actual person. Crazy. Okay, so one second. I'm going to have to do this one in here, and I'm going to put this one here up. I actually just found this today. And of
Wow.
course, yeah, yeah. It's just some of these are definitely out there. Let me see if I just want to enlarge it. I had someone on the show a couple of years back, and this is what he did. His whole Substack, everything he did was found old photos and old newspaper clippings. I mean, some of the old etchings went back like two, three, 400 years. Like, some of this stuff came from Europe. It wasn't all this side of the world. So let me just remove this for a moment. There we go. So, depiction of Tennessee from the 1700s, ancient mounds and pyramids. So, if you can trust a depiction, maybe.
There's got to be some.
Oh, yep. It definitely has to be something. So, one second. I'm just going to remove this banner as well.
There's a mountain town here called Franklin,
Memphis,
North
Tennessee.
Carolina, and
Yeah.
there is an Indian mound right smack between where roads divide in the town of Franklin. And the Indians or the Cherokee just got that property back, and
Wow.
it's just squeezed between the roads now.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Hmm.
Well, I mean, I'm glad it's still there, but you see the different mounds for sure. But then you see these two pyramids off in the distance, which is very interesting. So I don't know. Are we just looking in the wrong places?
That kind of stuff still exists. I've done stories in the past
Yeah.
where there you can see where the pyramids were in this country, like in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
real.
It's definitely there's all kinds of this stuff out there. And I think um, that's why I say, do we start looking, oops, wrong one. Do we start looking to the do we start looking back in time instead of trying to figure out what everybody's doing and looking at the little tidbits of information that we are being given now? It's like we're being just spoon fed a little bit, and it just completely goes off the mark. You look at all of these things that have been hidden, and I think a lot of it is also being lost in translation. Things have been, I mean,
Well,
you
I'll give you an example. The Cherokee, when they talk about their origin stories, they
hmm
believe that now I talked to the great granddaughter of the Sali, who was the hero of the Cherokee.
hmm
She said that the Cherokee all believe that they came from the Pleiades, the star cluster, the Pleiades.
mm,
And the stories of the creation or their origin are hidden in the Seven Sisters stories. And I've seen paintings of the Seven Sisters. But
mhm,
it's like they've hidden their story in
hmm
the legends, but they know what they're talking about.
it's like the Hopi,
Hmm.
all of their lore with
Hmm.
the ant people, and there are tales of indigenous people in Peru who have similar stories, but with reptilians. And there's where the cataclysm happened, and they were taken underground, and the reptilians in Peru cared for them, educated them, fed them until it was safe to go back above ground, whether how many generations later. So like, how much are we looking at that's rhetoric? How much are we looking at that is in plain sight and we just don't know what to make of it? How many books sit in private libraries that you will never be given access to? There are ancient libraries that definitely exist, but you can't translate the books. There's just a language that you just don't know. And
Right.
there's nobody left to translate them. Maybe that's something that technology now will help be able to do, you know? Anyway, Pyro says the priest said he was a friend of his and asked to have him take a photo with him, to which he did, which would
Um,
be nice
Little
to
people
find.
have been highly regarded in some cultures
Mm-hmm.
and considered quite wise.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes. Well, Of course, they again, oral history, they keep to themselves. They're not corrupted. I think I think we ran into this. Do you remember a few years ago when there was some, I don't know if it was a YouTuber or just, some social media person or journalist decides he ends up on some beach down in one of these remote places. I think it was somewhere down, could have been the Amazon. And they killed him.
Oh,
The indigenous tribes that just want to be left alone.
wow.
Like, this guy died. This was all over the news a few years ago, and they warned this guy, do not.
Was he the son of a Rockefeller or something like that?
No, I think I know, I remember that story
Okay,
vaguely.
that's not it, huh?
I don't know if it's the same guy, but he was warned on multiple occasions to not attempt to go and make contact with some of these tribal people that just want to be left alone. They're deep into the Amazon and they're there for a reason. Remember the little red-haired man with a shrunken head? Like they want to be left alone. And
And they mean it.
they do. And if you are hiding, when I think of, here we have the little people, and like you say, the story with the chickens, leave us alone. We want to be left alone. And they get their point across. How many people try to overreach?
Western men tend to do that. They want to exploit everything, own
Mm,
everything, dominate everything,
mm-hmm,
and it messes it up for an awful lot of us.
mm-hmm. It does. It
I'm,
does.
I'm going to dive off into a totally different subject because I've been real curious about it. You have done stories on dogmen. Is that correct?
Many, yeah.
Many. All
I
right.
can refer you to some good people.
I have posted my first one because I didn't know how to deal with the subject.
Right.
Joe Barger.
Joe is amazing. We had him on Two Real Cryptid Legends,
I think
and
he's real. I think he's legit.
it's 100% real and legit.
All right. He says that after he killed a um,
Dogman.
dogman,
Mm-hmm.
that he was pulled over at a vehicle weigh station, and two unidentified people, essentially went after him, and they warned him not to talk about what he'd seen, to keep his mouth shut, blah 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 blah.
Mm.
And they used the term that the dogman was they had killed one of their assets,
Yeah, what
which is
happened was 4 years later, he was at an airport. He was flying out to film a show that was on a very popular network, and he was pulled over at the airport. They yanked him aside, and 4 years later, even, and basically said that because they had confiscated one of his weapons as well, and they basically said, you killed our asset, and
used the
what
same term.
it was the same term. And what was crazy is that damage was done to the side of the truck. What the thing was clawing at it. This thing was so big. I think he put him in about 9 feet because his head went into the passenger side of his rig. And that's when he just like, nope, this is it. And he said this thing dropped, and he just went up the road a bit, turned the rig around, and by the time he went back, it was no longer there because I couldn't see blood. And he goes, and I know it was. I know this thing went down. And there was a black Jeep there. And they were holding something inside of it. And he stopped and he goes, everything okay? And they're like, yeah, just move along, no problem. And he said it was bizarre because they were just sitting. Because I actually didn't know. I just thought maybe it was somebody caught on the side of the road that may have needed some assistance. But what happened was the truck had to go in for repair, for the door was all clawed up. And from what I recall in the interview that we did with him, because it was quite lengthy, a couple of hours, and he gave us a lot of information, it was just gone. The truck was just fixed and the door was just gone. Everything was just gone. And this happened just outside of the
It
national
was the
park in Michigan.
Manistee Forest.
Yes. Now, if you're getting into a lot of that sort of stuff, a lot of these forests, I mean, just thinking missing 411 and things, a lot of them do have, underground bases and such. So You really want to get good dog man stories. You just need to research Land Between the Lakes.
Oh, I know. And I
Right?
know.
Like,
And my working theory right now is based on what I believe to be truth from this truck driver,
mm-hmm,
is that they are doing some kind of genetic thing or DNA thing
mm-hmm.
to make super soldiers or something of that nature.
Not far off.
And I don't know how I can dig into it or how if I'm ever going to be able to do anything with it, but I no longer, why would they do that? Why would they have, if it's an asset, why would they have the asset attack this truck and this driver?
I don't
Why?
think they did. I just think sometimes things get away and things just do
Go
their
haywire.
own thing and they're tracked. I
Do you think they
mean,
were an asset simply because of the DNA that it could be used?
oh no, no, oh no, no, no. That's a whole boy, oh boy, that's a whole deep rabbit hole. And I can refer you to some people you know, who can probably fill you in on some of that stuff. But I mean, you have to understand, um, we fudge with everything. We just fudge with everything. And if you can start getting into Dogman, then you need to
And I
start.
don't know if I want to because some of the stories are pretty icky.
They are. But what's interesting about it is you go back in time. I've got all kinds of literature on it where you can go back in time, and there was a whole race of dog-headed people going back in time. Saint Christopher was said to be a dog-headed person, and they're a race of beings. I can send you that, and then you go back into Anubis, ancient lore. These were protectors of sacred sites. Why he was dubbed as being god of the underworld because they protect, like they're found, these guys are found around cemeteries and places like that, sacred sites, right?
Mhm.
There's a whole pile of stuff I could give you, and then you get into how they just change. um it's a conversation I can definitely have with you sometime, even as to experiences, up in the north here, just things that I've seen and experienced and things that have come to me. But even like the traditional dog man, there's more than just one certain looking one. There's different ones. The one that been messed with, well, I think super soldier. I mean, an indestructible army. I think
Yeah,
that would do it.
yeah.
That would do it. Jess says tracking is for documentation purposes, exactly, since the signature on the asset imprints itself on whoever makes eye contact with it, allegedly, of course, for sure.
The
Yeah, I
asset
agree.
imprints itself on whoever.
Well, yeah, a wolf would imprint itself. Some of them do. They hit you with infrasound too. They can do that. Something happens to you, they probably want to know where. I mean, some Bigfoot are tracked as well. We also interviewed this couple on Two Real, and they were in Land Between the Lakes, and they had a very aggressive Bigfoot in that area. Anyway, something must have happened. I mean, these people up to 5 years, they just knew, we're going to avoid this part because this is a pretty big, aggressive Bigfoot male. And yet the female would come around with the little ones and they would leave out toys and they would leave out food and things like that for them. But the big one was a problem. And they said on the interview that when you came in, like they saw military coming in boats. They came in fully armed, and you could hear them for half an hour out there firing.
Hmm.
And they took something out, and it was big, and then there were no more problems after that. I think if they get a little bit out of control to what they deem, then that's it. They just kind of take away the problem. You know.
I don't know how deep I want to dive into this because I think it's really creepy.
It can be.
Yeah.
There's a lot more out there than most people are aware of. Pyro says, getting back to little people for a moment, ever wonder why the Cherokee were the only one in North American tribes who used blowguns? The origin story is that we came up from South America.
The origin
I
story. The origin story I've heard is oh, well, that'd be the Cherokee. The Cherokee came out of the Great Lakes region themselves. Now she's talking about the little
well,
people.
coming. I mean, yeah, coming up. Who know? I mean, there are stories of when you think about some of the Aztec. And there's so many things that are found in northern part of the United States that were Aztec origin, and the belief is that they were coming back home
Hmm.
from South America, that they had gone down and they had returned. And if you guys ever watch, I'm a
They
fan of
do
the
have a
series.
pyramid. There's a pyramid to the little dwarf or something in South America. I do remember that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just talking about the Aztec in general who made their way back. There's, if you go up and speak to the people throughout the Navajo Nation or the Ute and the different communities up there, they'll tell you, the tribal people will tell you, it's like, no, they came back. This is where their origins were. And they find all kinds of things like beads and all kinds of things. So,
You just triggered a memory. Walter Middleton, who was one of the old timers I interviewed here,
mhm,
he believed that, or for I
mhm.
don't know, but I can't remember what he said, but he felt that they had come from South America,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you
See?
triggered a memory.
Yeah. She says, before the Great Lakes, back to the destruction of Turtle Island. Yeah, that goes way back. Uh, Herb says, I don't know if it was infrasound, but I got whammied in the woods on the weekend. I was off grid, went outside of my school bus at night and got a loud tone in my right ear, then had a total breakdown.
Ooh,
Some people who get hit with infrasound, any animal has infrasound, by the way. It's not just like, cryptids, but Bigfoot has been known to throw out some infrasound. Dogman has been known. The large animals, especially, can mess with you with infrasound. If you look at some of the again interviewed we did with Martin Groves, he talks about a dogman who hit him with infrasound in Land Between the Lakes and how it affected, messed him up. He was sick for a while
hmm.
and PTSD, the whole 9 yards.
All right, since we're into ancient history, let me throw out something else. When I was working, finding things for Spy in the Sky, um, I did the ocean. I did the
Mhm,
Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean.
mhm,
Totally different. You found pyramids in the Atlantic.
mhm,
There were no pyramids in the Pacific. And on
mm.
the along the coastline where the ocean's not real deep, you can still get images with Google. Everything I found from Alaska all the way down to Baja was huge. Everything was huge in proportions.
Mm.
And if you get into some of the ancient readings or writings,
Mhm.
it talks about the people of the Lemuria being very large people. And I just wonder if those are remnants of that Lemurian race.
Well, that could very well be. The Lemurians were said, which was Mu, right
Mhm,
down
right.
out near New Zealand. They were said to have gone through down below. They went, by Antarctica. It was believed that some may have remained, and they ended up going up through South America. And many people believed that the ancient Lemurians are in Mount Shasta.
I've certainly heard that. But
Yeah,
there's definitely a very large race of people that must have
yeah,
occupied our Pacific. I want to give you one example.
yes.
The longest runways, airport runways today are not much more than 3 miles in length.
Hmm.
The one that is laid out just like the ones we have today
Hmm.
is 89 miles in length.
What were you driving? Yeah.
And but I know that's huge. That's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
And that's one of the positive things about Google Earth. They do have measuring tools, so you can actually measure something in feet or inches or however you want to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is nuts. That is
Can
crazy.
I need to explain one thing?
Go
I
ahead. Yeah.
have at this moment 5 books listed on Amazon,
And they're all in our
but
write-up as well.
there's one that you cannot get from there because the famous they are getting in the way of it, and that's this Spy in the Sky book.
Right.
If you go, you've got the website there. If you go to
Yeah.
skyshipsovercashers.com and open up Editor's Corner,
Hmm.
it'll tell you how you can get the book, and it's only $16.
Right.
I am not, this is not a money making project in any way
Mm-hmm.
whatsoever for me. I just want the information out.
Mm.
And
Wait, I remember when you released it, you came in, you did a segment with it. That was your first segment here on the
was
Outer
it?
Realm. Yeah, we did Skies Over or
Yeah.
Skies. We did that whole.
I don't think at that point I'd been hit with the
Yeah.
interference.
Yeah. No, because you were just starting to talk
I
about
had
it.
just ordered. I had just ordered it, and
I know.
every book that I ordered was
Yes.
ordered by Amazon, and then they were
Yes.
all returned. During that time, I'd made another order because they had
Yeah.
disappeared so quickly. They were
Yeah.
doing everything they could to keep that from getting out,
Hmm.
whoever they is.
They were
So
shadow
yeah,
banning you.
so go
Yeah.
to Editor's Corner at Skyships Over
Hmm.
Cashers, and
Yeah.
you can
And
get it cheap.
have a listen to go to the Outer Realm and just put up Mary's name in the search, and you can catch that interview. It's still there. It's all on archive. And you
Thank
talked
you.
about it. You showed, I think, photos as well. And mind you, I say that now. I may have just messed with that too. So let's hope it's still there if you're looking for it.
I'm not surprised by anything anymore.
No, but I think is getting a lot more people are basically saying that they're having these issues. But at least we have a nice benign, interesting conversation today. I just wanted to make note. Hold on, I have to come back. I have to come back. Okay, when she talked about Turtle Island, and she said. We landed in South America, traveled north, then to the East Coast 18,000 years ago, the Cherokee, and then there were skeletal remains found in Arizona, redated to 12,000 years ago. You can save me, Jess. Come save me, Jess. Yeah. So, um, yeah, little people it is. So, but yeah, I don't know. So with all of this, you're still getting stories. You plan on editing your current book? Are you planning on? Would you consider like writing another book on?
I think things are happening so fast right now. I will probably just be putting things on my Facebook page and on the website,
Mhm.
Skyships. Um,
Right.
Things are just
Yeah.
happening too fast. Um, and people are getting overwhelmed with stuff. You just got to get it out there in bite-sized pieces. I deliberately try to write tight and short so that
Yes.
people will at least get the essence because
Hmm.
everybody's like this and
It's
running,
true.
you
It's
know,
true. You're not wrong on that. People just want quick,
quick,
quick, quick, quick.
quick, quick, quick.
Pyro says, has Mary studied James Mooney's documents about the Cherokee that are in the Smithsonian?
I've read his book long time ago, so don't test me.
Eons ago, huh?
I wish I had one of those brains where you remember everything you ever learned and you just pull it up like that. And my
Yeah.
brain fails me.
Me, I'm already there. So, like, yes, yes. So, do you have any? What are you working on next? Are you writing anything else, or are you? Are you
I'm
going?
always, I update the website
Mhm.
once a week.
You got
Uh,
great articles on there. If you guys want
and
to just read a lot of great stuff.
every section has archives.
Hmm.
Stuff in the archives will be new to most people anyhow. So it's not like it's
Yeah.
stuff you wouldn't be learning from.
No, there's a
And
lot of great info.
that's where I focus trying to put
Mm-hmm.
staying current with what's going on. And
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the reasons I asked about the dogmen, because I just did that article. I was convinced it was correct.
Yeah.
I just don't know how or should I even dig deeper into it. I don't know.
Well, that
Sometimes,
art.
go
I'll say
ahead.
that article when Joe came on is because like there's a friendship with our hosts,
Hmm.
so you got more. There's a lot more information on it, and he only just started talking about it again.
It was in
And
December. The first time he went public with on the
yeah, yeah, he's
confessions
just come
website.
back on, and he was on. He came on right at the beginning of the new year with us.
Yeah.
So
Also, I'm wrestling at another level. People are. I've never seen the country so split up and divided and frustrated. And part of me wants to figure out a way that we can plant some more hope and
mm, so
some more
consciousness.
some
Consciousness is easy.
okay.
Consciousness is easy. Well, I mean, you're looking at the collective consciousness, and I've tested this theory. just by, you ever hear, sometimes you're thinking of a song, all of a sudden this song is everywhere. It kind of works with words and with thoughts as well. I remember thinking, I'm going to test this. I'm going to come up with some really random word that people probably haven't used since the 50s, which was swell. It was. I said most random word that people don't really use much was swell. All of a sudden, I started hearing, like on the radio, or I started watching in the feeds, and that word came up so many times, and I went, "That is interesting." So, because I do a lot of energy work, so I work with the consciousness with other people and so on. If everybody took one positive message and just put it out there into the consciousness every day. Can you imagine how things would just change?
Well,
Because
it's got to
it
change.
works.
In my lifetime, I've never seen things as screwed up in this country as things are now.
It is everywhere. It is
It's
everywhere.
everywhere.
It is a sign of the times. And you want to go really crazy on that sort of stuff, you need to go on and be a guest on News on the Flip Side with our producer because he goes crazy with that kind of conversation. He's
Well,
always looking for people to come in and have open, it's just like an open mic. And people come in and share like all kinds of information like that. But definitely worth it. That show does crazy well. So, you know. Um, but it's been really a lot of fun talking about this. And what I mean, aside from Dogman, is there any other things that you're looking to delve into? Because there's some really nice Dogman stories as well. Just so you know, they're not all horrifying.
um, well, I sent you a copy of something I just posted on my Facebook page. A
Yes.
picture of the close-up face of a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Anytime I don't do it very often, but anytime I posted a Bigfoot photo of any kind,
Mm-hmm.
there is such debate. It's AI, it's this, it's fake,
Mm-hmm.
and they go on, and I
Yeah.
don't want to be part of the argument. But
Yeah.
to me, it looked like it could be real, and that's why I went
Mm-hmm.
ahead and decided to post it on my Facebook page. And by the
Mm-hmm.
way, this is another way I've been messed with. Um, if you want my Facebook page, just type in Mary Joyce.
Yeah.
I also have an old page that's called has my middle initial in it, Mary A. Joyce.
Mm-hmm.
That was hacked so badly that I can't fix it. I can't get on it. I can't do anything.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
I had to start a whole different page. But it's just Mary Joyce, which is certainly easy to remember and easy to spell. And
Yes.
it gets updated more than once a week.
Yeah. Well, I enjoy it. I subscribe to your newsletter, so it comes to my email every week. So I
It's technically not a newsletter. It's just like
no,
a
but
notice of things that
a
are
notice. That's what it is,
right.
and I get that coming in. I can click on the links and I save so much stuff just because I'm usually on the run when it comes in. I'm going to get back to it, and I really can fine tune the different things that I like to read, and there's something there for literally everyone. And I'm hoping that as you get more little people stories that you'll post them as you can, of course, because they're really fascinating.
I
Especially when you're thinking, oh, like in modern times. It's like,
right,
and this is not something from yesteryear. This is
right,
something that's happening right now,
right.
much like, isn't there a place I think out in, I don't know if it's Indonesia or it's on the other side of the world, and they have people there that they've nicknamed the Hobbit people because of the size of these
Oh, real
guys.
tiny. It's in the Pacific someplace. I remember.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they would be bigger than what would be little people, but they not that much bigger, So there's definitely a whole other world of people that we share space with, and I think we just have to not be afraid. Why do we have to think that everything is so strange? It's like you say, um, no, we have Bigfoot's considered a race of being. Like they are, they're races.
Yeah.
Well,
And multiple tribes talk about them.
hmm
And they just talk about them as being another clan, another type of people. Very accepting.
Yeah, exactly. So why can't we just accept that?
I don't know. I don't know. That's an easy question.
hmm
Probably should have an easy answer. I don't know.
Well, there's some places that will have laws. Like for example, California. You
You
kill a
can't kill
Bigfoot.
them. You can't kill them.
No, that's
Right.
that's a murder charge.
Right.
So there are places like that.
The one time when I was up here in the mountains, and one of the old timers took me back into the woods where he said there was a Bigfoot cave. And when we got out of his truck, he grabbed a sickle. I'm going, oh my God, why does he have a sickle? Well, it was simply to cut a path if we needed to, because it was about a half mile off the road.
Hmm.
So once we got into the woods, and it's rocky, it's woods, it's ridges,
Hmm.
we hear this sound. It sounded like a bird, but it wasn't a bird.
Hmm.
And then off in the distance that we were headed, there was the same sound coming, and then everything got quiet.
Hmm.
There were two Bigfoot prints on the side of the ridge there, right where we heard the first sound. It was my conclusion that one Bigfoot was telling other Bigfoot that these humans were on the way and just
Well,
warning them.
that's quite normal.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Have you ever heard the Sierra Sounds?
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Ron Moorhead is
In fact, I did an article. Let's see if here, hold on.
Mm-hmm.
I did an article and I pulled it up because of something you said earlier. Um, Scott Nelson was a cryptological linguist, I guess, with the military for
Mm-hmm.
like 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he analyzed those recordings that
Did Ron Ron
so
talks
you know
about
about
them?
that. And he
Well,
says
yeah.
there's a lot of
Ron.
it that sounds like Japanese. And let me
Mm-hmm.
pull this up here because I think it's funny. Um, they find other languages that the Bigfoot are speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one where it sounds like a Bigfoot couple are fussing at each other. And the let's see here. The female says, "Are you talking with them?" And very slowly the male said, "No, I won't." And it's like she didn't want him talking to the humans.
Mm-hmm. So
But
that doesn't surprise.
they had to slow it down in order to
Yeah.
hear what it was saying because apparently it's at a much more rapid speed.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. They've not been able to discredit those. Ron talks about that. He's talked about that on the show a few times with the Sierra Sounds because he's one of our hosts, and he says they've not been able to dispute it, discount it. They've tried. He goes, they just can't,
I
and
know.
they're legendary on their just on their own accord. And I think Ron's son is actually making. I think they're doing books or they're doing something on the Sierra Sounds for youngsters, for
Really?
for for kids. Yeah, just to basically try to introduce some of that. I think you could find his stuff. Hold on, I keep it here because
I absolutely believe those recordings are real. I have no doubt about it.
oh, he without a doubt, yeah, this is one of those things that they've not been able to disprove. But if you look at Mike Patterson as well, Northern Canada, Saskatchewan, I think I could be wrong on that. It's got great recordings of Bigfoot, and I mean, pretty much like you can understand what they're saying almost in English. It's so fascinating. It's so fascinating. I think that the
I did
people,
a brief article on him. His name is Mike Patterson, and
yeah.
he's the founder of the Sasquatch Ontario
Ontario.
Big.
That's right.
Right.
Ontario. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
And that may still be one of the. I have the most recent 20 stories on the homepage of
Hmm.
Skyships. I
Hmm.
think that's still listed there, so you could just punch it and get right to it.
Yeah. I see that's I love when you have people who can come on and have such great experiences with Bigfoot. Ron totally believes that cryptids, Bigfoot especially, at a quantum level. And you listen to him talk, and he makes some of the most sense that I have
Hmm.
ever heard. He really does. He just seems to nail it. And there have been, Michelle Heaton. She's someone else who's written a book on having incredible experiences with Bigfoot, and she's coming on this month again to talk about with another book with more experiences. There are people who have Bigfoot literally as part of their everyday lives that they come in, they leave food out, the family comes, they take the food, they leave trinkets, they have really amazing relationships. And believe it or not, they're amazing. There are some pretty amazing dogman experiences out there. You need to look at Bruce Brown. He's done a couple of shows here and fascinating stuff. He's talked about just, having a dog man, just watching him, just sort of, toying around. Where are you going? He talks about coming up in a cave, sticking his head up, and there's a dog man standing right there.
Wow.
He came out unscathed. Talks about finding a youngster, a baby dog man, which
Hmm.
was it was a dog man that he saw in the cave, and it was injured, so he sort of carried it to safety. And he goes, I know the mother was just sitting watching from
Hmm.
behind and followed me for a little bit, and they're just curious. And he talks about, what drew my attention was a dog man that had literally tracked him for miles and ended up on the hood of his car. It was, you look at this terrifying thing that's happened. He goes, and when it made its way, it found him, it tracked him. But he goes, it seemed that he was just more curious about me.
Hmm.
Didn't do anything, like to
How brave are you? Would you do that?
go out, to look for a dog man.
Mm-hmm.
On my own, no. Bruce goes up by himself. I'm like, I think I'm going to hang out with you, Bruce. You're just doing it right because you're always finding them. But he's also, Native American. He's gentle. They just know, and he's smart, and he's a guy you could talk to about getting into some of those deeper questions that you have. But like, yes, I would. I would. I have
You
a.
would.
I
You
have a.
just you just decided you would.
Oh no, I've known for a while. I've always had a good connection just to wolves on general. From the time I was a child, I would just, I remember just sitting on one mountain and just having an apple, and he was just on the one right beside me, looking over, and I just threw him the apple. He ate it. I've always had. I grew up in the north. I didn't have any sort of fear of wolves. Now, Dogman's a little bit different. I've seen things. I've had stories told to me, even out this way. But like a full on big, dog man. I'm not an idiot, but you know, but I'm also very curious about them. And I think you do things smart for people who have interest in seeing some, of these beings, is that you go with a group of people who do know what they're doing, and some of them are going to be aggressive. Some of them, chances are they already know you're out there before you
Right.
even know that you have a potential encounter.
Right.
That's just the way it is.
I took
So,
two. I took two curious Bigfoot researchers to a cave, not the one I mentioned earlier, but another
yeah.
cave, um, and the the Bigfoot were there, and they let us know they were there
Hmm.
by swishing the trees around, or
Hmm.
a tree. It would go like this and back and forth when
Hmm.
everything else is still. Now
Hmm.
they didn't show themselves, but that was a sure sign we were at their
Yeah.
cave, and they were letting us know that they knew we
Yeah.
were there.
Yeah. See, they watch you.
Yeah.
They're always watching. There's some really horrific stories, man. I could introduce you to a lot of very interesting people on both counts if you really wanted to talk about them and delve into them, But it was a lot of fun. I loved hearing about. I'm going to put your book back up. I loved hearing about all of your stories. That I'm so glad that that the Cherokee people have felt comfortable enough to come to you and continuing to share these stories with you. And I hope they continue to, because I would love to hear more all about it. I think it's awesome. So all of your books, everything is in the write up. There's an Amazon link for this as well. Where else can your books be purchased on your website?
I only do the one that nobody can get because
Right,
I'm really not a production shipping operation
right,
here. I
right.
can do the one. I'm not going to do them all.
Yeah, no, I get that. Well, I mean, thank you for joining me today. Thank you to everybody in the chat room. You guys are all awesome. Outer Realm tomorrow night. Very special guest. I'm really pleased to welcome first time special guest Jason Sands. He's a retired Master Sergeant from the United States Air Force. He has served his nation through many different factions. He is a former Legacy UAP program member. He has been featured, and you can see this on Amazon, James Fox's documentary, The Program. very interesting to watch that. He's had incredible experiences, and he's going to be talking about the UFO UAP crash retrieval program. He's going to be talking about the reverse engineering, non-human intelligence involvement, and agreements that may or may not be in place. But he's going to be talking about the importance of disclosure and the need for public support. There's going to be so much different information to talk about. We're really glad to have him join us. And Thursday, oh boy, another hot one. Fellow UPRN host and dear friend of Ethereal Encounters Unveiled, Carol Ann Iadarola joins me for an exciting discussion on ITC. Who's really on the line? Does Spirit AI bridge the gap or fake the signal? It's going to be wild. We're going to get into some, origin stuff as to where ITC really became a thing, where it's going, and, having to maybe redefine the voice that we're hearing from beyond when it comes to this stuff. So we're going to explore, instrumental transcommunication and Spirit AI, bridging spiritualism with emerging technologies to question what actually communicates from the other side. So since I do a lot of ITC, I am very much looking forward to this. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. So thank you all. And thank you, Mary. We have to do this again sometime. I always enjoy our conversations.
I do too. And thank you for what you're doing. You're helping open a lot of minds. That's important.
Oh, hopefully in a good way. I can open a mind, believe me, but yeah, I most certainly can open a mind. So big thank you, of course, to the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM from the Gulf Coast, 107.7 FM from New Orleans, uprntalkradio.com. Go and check out the other shows. As far as what's the chat open mic show, you want politics, get over on News on the Flip Side. If you just want to jibber jabber about anything, then you need to go out on Saturday and check out the chat. There's something for everyone. Thank you all. Goodbye. Good afternoon on this side of the world. Good night on the other side of the world. Thank you for tuning in.